Hey, what's up, everybody? BDL44 coming at you with another video. Alright, so I know I haven't been reporting much on NBA stuff at all. Besides the Lakers, I haven't really talked about the league. But I thought that this story was pretty interesting. So, from what I've just read, according to Adrian Wojnarowski, James Harden is considering returning to the Houston Rockets in free agency. Now, that tells me that his opt-in, whatever just happened, when this expires, he's kind of cool on Philly, or Philly's kind of cool on him. A little bit of both, maybe. I don't know. But I think it's interesting because Houston has a lot of young players, and sort of like Cleveland Cavaliers situation as well, with LeBron James considering going there. It's like, are you sure they want you? Like honestly, James, let's be real here. Let's just be really honest, fam. They got a lot of young players to pay, man. They got young players that they want to keep. Jabari Smith is really starting to come together. He's going to turn into one of the Rookie of the Year candidates very soon, even though Paolo's going to take that running away. But nevertheless, he's really starting to play well right now. You got the young kid Porter, of whom it's been argued in some circles that they may want to trade him. They may not want to go forward with him, but he's a young player who's been playing excellent this season. He's playing great. So I don't think they should be looking at him the same way if they were looking at him that way. You look at Jalen Green, who Luka Doncic just told everybody he thinks the Rockets should build around, who happens to play James Harden's position. He essentially just told the whole world, he's like, yo, that dude's going to be a superstar. Houston, you need to build around that dude. And that's Luka Doncic saying that. I think that holds a lot of weight. So, as far as James Harden going back to Houston, if you want to go back to Houston, you got to take a massive pay cut, and dare I say, may even have to come off the bench. Yeah, that's the truth, bro. They got guys on their bench that play your position that are also going to need to develop. Ty Washington, Josh Christopher. I don't know Gordon's there. What you going to play, Eric Gordon's role? I mean, listen, it could be an awesome situation if he goes back there. And to be dead honest with you, if he goes back there dirt cheap, he might actually be able to help them win a championship. And I think if he goes back there dirt cheap, which he's proven, he's taken a pay cut already in Philly. If he goes back there dirt cheap, it is a good decision. But he just has to be willing to make all those sacrifices I just said. Like, I'd literally tell them, hey, not only am I coming in ready to do what you guys are asking me to do, I think it's probably best we don't shake it up with the young fellas. Keep them in rotation. Keep them in that starting lineup. You don't want to mess with anything they got going on there in Houston, to be honest with you, if you want to join it. You don't want to touch none of that, man. You want to play with every last one of those kids, James. You don't want to go there and trade and let Philadelphia gut them of all that talent. Philly, that's definitely what you want to do. But Houston, that's definitely what you don't want to do. And so it's one of those situations where it's like, look, if this is what their game plan is, it's a good one. It's a good one. When you consider, the Philadelphia's GM, whose name is escaping me, but whose reputation definitely does not, Morey, his ties to Houston, he still has that bridge there, even though I thought he probably burned it down. Apparently not. He's probably trying to figure out how he can move forward and surround Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey with young talent. Obviously, the Tobias Harris contract has worked out, even though it's really, really inflated. He's played very well the whole time, so it hasn't been a problem. But they're going to want to revamp some of those players that they have because they don't have the athleticism and the wing talent that they want. So what I think this actually is a grand scheme that they've had the entire time to try to get Philadelphia some of those talented players that the Houston Rockets have. And this is them saying, hey, James Harden now wants to go back to Houston. He probably always wanted to go back to Houston. He probably always intended to return back to Houston, just to leave there during their circumstance so they can revamp and get the talent they got right now so that he can have a better team there. Because Philly and Brooklyn, if you remember how that Brooklyn situation went, he wanted to go to Philly so he can play with Morey. not any of the players on the team, but Morey, the GM. He wanted to play under Morey, but he detoured in Brooklyn because they had a super team championship guaranteed type situation. So he just, all right, let's go. KD talking, Kyrie talking, let's go. But that fell apart, so he ended up back in Philly anyway, which I thought he was probably going to leave there anyway and go to Philly anyway, because that was the plan. He was trying to get a championship with the Nets, play a little contract quickly, and get out of there, and then come down here to Philadelphia where he's at, do all of this for a couple years, and then get back to Houston in this little thing. I think that was the plan the whole time. I think they've been thinking about this for 3 years. And so this is just another phase of that plan. Because when I saw him take that pay cut, and he only opted in for a couple years, I'm like, if you plan on staying there, you probably pull a LeBron. You're an older player, right? You're not going to opt to stay for only a couple years. You're probably going to opt to stay for many. So this makes sense. This makes all the sense in the world, because at the end of the day, their future isn't with James Harden. His contract is not, his contract expectations and what it is that he's normally going to make is not what they want to pay. So the thing that they're going to need to do is, as I said, surround Joel Embiid and Maxey with talent. And the best way to get them the championship talent that they need is to try to get it on rookie contracts, overinflated contracts. Like I said, everybody else should want, especially us. Philly should want that stuff too, because it allows them to pay Maxey his max amount of money, keep Joel Embiid at his super max money, and then have those young players in position to negotiate from there. So I don't know what their pick situation looks like, but if I'm Daryl Morey, I would love to acquire any one of those young players. Honestly, obviously, I don't expect to get the best ones of them, but some of the other ones and maybe some picks, depending. If they want to move on from Porter, I don't know how you match him up with Maxey, but you'd figure it out. Obviously, if I'm Philadelphia, I'd love to pair up Jabari Smith and Joel Embiid. That's kind of where my head would be. That would be where my head would be. I love that idea defensively, and the ability for them to both stretch the perimeter, and then have Maxey swinging around out there somehow, and then add some other pieces that maybe you can get from them, and a trade for James Harden. That would be something that I would want to do. But if I'm Houston, see what I'm saying? If I'm Houston, I'm laughing at y'all little plan over there. I'm laughing at you. Like, that's a whole nother conversation. And what am I doing in Houston? Why do I want to give you Jabari Smith? You see what I'm saying? It's like, I don't know what they're thinking over there in Philly, but at the end of the day, if he's joining in free agency, then they're gonna let him walk. That's not in the plans. I'm just overlooking that aspect of it because it's never gonna happen. That's never gonna happen. That's a sign and trade, 100,000%. Sign and trade, or it's a trade beforehand. You think Daryl Morey's gonna let James Harden walk? No, they would never agree to that. Hell no, they would never agree to that. No, they're a team. They showed us they've been a team the whole time. They're never going to agree to that. They may tell you they're going to do that, but that's not going to happen. No, what they're going to do is try to work out a sign and trade to Houston as to which something like this would happen. And you know James Harden's value is always inflated because of his efficiency levels and his ability to have the big game possibility in his history with MVP and all of that other stuff. His game kind of translates to where if he doesn't have athleticism, he's still going to be able to dominate by making players better. He's already proven that. Or even better, he was able to show that he could play out of shape and then get back in extreme shape and then play certain levels. So it's like, with the injury issues, I could argue he might not have as much leverage as all of that may provide normally. But this is an extremely great player. You know what I mean? And he has, of course, all that history with the Houston Rockets, to which he's a legacy act for which they would feel, I don't know, obligated, but may feel some desire to bring him back. But at the behest of all of those young talent that they actually drafted. I don't know about you guys, but as a Laker fan, it means more to me when I draft players than the guys that we picked up in free agency. Unless they're like Shaq and they won a bunch of championships with it. You know what I mean? Hey, you got a guy like, as I've said, Jabari a million times. Of course, Porter, they got in this situation, but I mean, they pulled him up as basically a rookie, more or less. He didn't hardly play with the Cleveland at all. You know, these are guys that they have. Christopher, they drafted. Sengun, they drafted. They're not going to want to get these dudes up as a fan base. No, that's their homegrown Rockets. That's their dudes. So you're going to have to sell them on something more than just bringing back old James Harden, who had some great glory days there, but, you know, they didn't win a championship with him. They did not win a championship with him. And then fortunately for James Harden, this is the championship fan base. this ain't the Nets. You know what I'm saying? They've won. You know, this is Clutch City. So you're gonna have to sell them on the idea that you can bring them a championship and that these kids cannot. And to be honest with you, he can't sell them that. So if I'm Houston as a fan base, I'm laughing. If I'm the front office at the Houston, I'm laughing. And you got to give me a hell of a lot of picks. A hell of a lot of picks, Philly, if you even want to have a conversation about Jabari Smith or any of them other kids. And don't talk about Jalen Green because it ain't happening. And probably don't talk about Sengun because you got Joel Embiid anyway. So that's kind of how that goes, man. That's kind of how that goes. That's exactly how I see it. If I'm Houston, I'm not doing that. There's nothing you got that I want that bad. You're going to definitely give me Maxey for sure. And I'm probably going to ask for Joel Embiid too. I don't know. Why not? That's how I feel. Since you guys want to ask for stupid stuff, I'm going to ask for stupid stuff too. That's how I would play that if that were to occur. So, if James Harden and Daryl Morey have fell out, and now this is James Harden's way of saying, I'm about to dart, so you better trade me. And that brings an entirely different variable into the situation. There it is. I presented it to you. I don't think that's what's happening. I don't. I haven't heard anything like that. That doesn't make sense to me based on what I'm seeing in regards to Philly. It's not like they're playing horribly. They could be better, but I think this is more so about understanding that Philadelphia's owner doesn't want to pay him, James Harden, the next amount that it's going to be. And I think it was understood the entire time that they weren't going to want to pay him that contract. But Houston, however, his legacy team may be willing to pay him his legacy contract. Maybe. So I think this is how you do it. I think this is what he's thinking. I'm pretty sure he would like to, just get back to that situation. Like I said, they're a much better team. I'm pretty sure they wouldn't gut themselves or their kids by any stretch of the imagination to get him. I'm just saying, if I'm Houston and you want to make a sign and trade to make that happen, for which I know Daryl would, I'm going to start asking for stuff that I know Daryl ain't going to want to give me. That's how that goes. No, he's going to walk, Daryl. That's how that's going to go. If he comes to Houston, he's walking. And we're going to negotiate him at a very low price so that I can keep all of my kids. That's how that goes. And if not, I'll just live without James Harden. Been doing it just fine. Don't need him. So that's how I look at that situation, man. It's exactly how I look at that situation. I ignore the free agency aspect of it completely because Daryl Morey is way too great of a GM to let James Harden, his homeboy, walk. Does that even make any sense to y'all? BDL44. Thank y'all for watching. I'm out.